Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the 1313 podcast, the most mediocre podcast in the Star Wars universe. I'm Jackson.
I'm Tommy.
And unfortunately, we don't have Jacob this week because of just work, which sucks, but that is okay. Tune in next week. Jacob will probably be back by then. But Tommy, how is it going? What's up?
You want to put bets on that? $5?
He'll probably be. No, but Tommy, we got some awesome Acolyte news to talk about, but some Star Wars news as well. But how is your week going? What do all the people in the amazing universe need to know about you right now?
My week is going well. I'm about to get avalanched with a ton of action figures. I got just reviewed right before we started recording this, the new Halloween 2-pack.
I can't believe that's even real.
I couldn't believe it came in because when I pre-ordered it, and the pre-orders have been coming like in and out, and they were like, Amazon said it wouldn't come in until September. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'll get it before Halloween. And then the next day they were like, they said something about like, did you hear that?
Yeah, I did.
So the next day they were like, hey, they charged me. And I was like, oh, like, what is this? Like a phantom charge like Target does? And they're like, nope, here it is coming tomorrow. So I was like, dang. So I got my review done. Going to try and get that out tomorrow so that I can because I haven't seen anybody else review it yet. So
no, I think that'll probably be one of the first, which is pretty neat. Put us on the map. But as of recording this right now, it is Wednesday, the 17th, and tomorrow on Thursday is when the Acolyte figures become available at GameStop. So I am definitely going to run to a few of the GameStops in my area, maybe make like a mini guag about it. I just thought of that right now. I'm thinking about this for the first time. No one's done this before, but maybe I'll do that. But I'm excited. I definitely want to get Soul. I went to one of the GameStops last week and they had OSHA in May, and that was it. They had like gigantic boxes, and in the bottom of both of those boxes was just thrown in like OSHA in May. But the guy even scanned it and was like, oh, I can't even sell this to you. It's street dated for the 17th. So come the 17th, I will look for the rest of the wave.
Also, I just want to give a quick shout out to a guy. So this is the guy that does all the custom 3D printed stuff for our good friend Commander Cook. And so Cook actually put him in contact with us, and he sent us some free stuff. So I want to give a shout out to Camino and Cloners on Instagram. Here's his QR code if you can scan that somehow. He sent us
just search it.
A custom Black Series head. So for Jacob, he gave him a realistic Anakin Skywalker and Hayden Christensen head. And then he got for Jackson a realistic Fives.
Looks pretty
Tamara Morrison head. And then for me, I selected a Commander Mayday from the Bad Batch season 2. And then actually I'm going to have my sweet Cookie is going to make me a custom Mayday.
Ooh, that'll be hard.
Because he told me he wants to try, there's a new, like, instead of doing the soft goods for the wrappings, he told me there's a new 3D print kit to do all the parts as like sculpted. So he said he wants to try it out. And it'd be a good opportunity. But then I also bought from Camino and Cloners this 1/12 scale Clone Trooper speeder from the 2003 Clone Wars Micro Series. So this is resin printed too. Bruh.
This is a historic This historic moment for Tommy because since the podcast started, Tommy has always sworn away custom items, and you're hearing it first that now he's commissioning a custom action figure to be put on a shelf, and he paid for a custom vehicle. Tommy has become the new custom shill. Will he order more from Cook in the future? Only time will tell.
I ordered a custom, but it's going to be separate from the rest of the figures, Jackson. It won't be with the rest of the figures because it's not authentic. Not authentic.
And then also, I don't know if you knew, but I'm also dipping my toes into Mayfex now.
I did see that in the Discord. Yeah, you were getting the Mayfex Boba from ESB. Okay, yeah, because you got 2 of them.
Well, what happened was so it was between my dad, Fig Fury, and then Mr. Coffee from Monday Night Figure Ball were telling me, like, you got to try imports. You got to try imports. You got to try imports. So I bought season 2 of Mando Boba Fett. I was like, that's my favorite look. And then they have a guy on their channel who you may see on our channel soon, the Zoo Boy, a.k.a. BBL Zoo Boy. He always takes like an hour to do his recent pickups because he just yaps. So on one of their streams last week or 2 weeks ago, I said, if Zooboy can somehow manage to do his recent pickups in under 15 minutes, I will buy the Mafex Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett. And he somehow did it in like 14 minutes and 57 seconds. He somehow managed it. So I ended up getting that one. That was recommended to me also by Fig Fury and Mr. Coffee. So I'm expanding my horizons, brother. Expanding the horizons.
But yeah, that's pretty cool. There was something else with that I totally wanted to mention, but I can't remember.
What were we talking about? We were just talking about.
I don't know. It was Star Wars. I was going to mention Comic-Con is coming up next week. And there was some very heavy hints from Yak, and there's somebody out there who's leaking Black Series figure parts. Looks like they're doing a new Yavin Luke. I'm on my hands and knees asking Hasbro why another Luke. But there was also Commander Bakara was another one that was hinted by Yak that could be a new figure. That would be insane if they did Bakara, because they have not done a clone in that style. It has just been repaint so far to kind of fill in the gaps for other clones. But to have a newer clone would be really, really cool.
Actually, Jackson, I have some exclusive info for you. It is a to the audience, it is a dude trust me source. And you can take what I say with a grain of salt, but I know it to be true. I get the info from Wilbon's show. Like, again, go check out Monday Night Figure Ball. 2025 is going to be a huge year for the prequels, even bigger than 2024 has been for prequel Black Series figures.
I'm here for it.
I'm just gonna say that the Darth Maul speeder that's coming out for San Diego Comic-Con is a trial run for how vehicles will sell if they bring them back into the Black Series. And the top candidates for future vehicles for the Black Series are Bark Speeder and ATRT. If it sells well, which I think it will, they're going to bring some Clone Trooper vehicles into the line.
Crap, I totally forgot they were selling that Maul at Comic-Con. Maybe I should ask my friend to pick that up too. But I don't want to be too rude.
They're going to put them on Hasbro Pulse too.
Oh, never mind. That'll be fine.
Yeah, they're limit of 2 per customer, so I'm going to pick up 2 Pulse Premium member.
So. Crap, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, the Star Killer set was a Comic-Con exclusive from last year too, right? And that's still available?
Hasbro PulseCon.
Hasbro PulseCon, that would explain it.
Yeah.
Dang, if they get Sam Witwer at ICC, I'm copying that instantly.
I think it might happen, bro. I think Sam Witwer might. Did I tell you about that?
No, you didn't tell me about that. Bro.
Here's my. This is my. You and I, we've been oracling a lot of things lately, whether it's Acolyte or other stuff. But
we are supreme oracles.
So Star Wars Sith is a YouTube channel. He had Michael Havens on his show to announce Wedge Antilles. Okay.
Yes.
And he pulled up a chat about halfway through the episode, and he said, the chat was like, please get Sam Witwer at ICC Con. And he was like, yeah, that'd be super cool. And Michael just sat there like this. No reaction at all, refused to acknowledge that the chat had just come up on the screen. And I was like, dude, if they get Sam Witwer at ICC Con this year, I will lose my marbles.
Actually, crap, I don't even know if I would rather, just a hypothetical thing too, if he was at ICC Con, then I would totally debate getting the Black Series thing signed or the copy of Force Unleashed that I have on the Wii.
That'd be cool.
I don't know.
Just do both.
trying to make me go into poverty. But no, Tommy and I are still on the hype train for ICC Con. As he mentioned on it was just a few days ago, they had Wedge announced. My fault.
Dennis Lawson. I don't know. Do they have the next one lined up? I don't know if they have the next one lined up.
I know because at least for us, we wanted to advertise well in advance that we were doing a stream with Michael. Some of them kind of pop up like a week to even like a day or two before.
Exactly.
Like it's going to happen. Yeah. So we'll see. Just keep your eyes and ears open on the social media channels. He updates his Instagram more than his Facebook. So remember that.
Oh, one more thing of housekeeping that I almost forgot to mention on this episode was as far as our upload schedule goes. So I kind of did a trial run this last week with bringing back Tika's Trading Post with my brother Logan, and then also bringing back Habachats, like we've done the last couple weeks. Habachats were coming out on Wednesdays, and Tika's was coming out on Monday. The Tika's Trading Post episode performed really well. It's actually our second best performing Tika's episode. And then our Habachat also did really, really well. So going forward, the upload schedule is going to be Tika's on Mondays, Habachats on Wednesdays, and podcasts on Fridays. Any other day will be like vlogs and things like that. But as far as Tika's and Habachats go, don't expect those to be weekly set in stone series. But if they do come out, it'll be on a Monday or a Wednesday. But yeah, so just want to give an update on that. And we've been growing a ton lately. It's been so much fun. Huge. I've been doing like a ton of different live streams with a bunch of different channels recently, and it's been a lot of fun to just like yap with people, but also to kind of bring our communities together. Like our channel helped Wilbon hit 200 subscribers on his channel. So
sweet, that's great.
Yeah. I think he gained like 13 subscribers, funnily enough, after having 1313 on his channel. So, yeah, so honestly, super hype. Thank you guys for all the support you give us, and thank you for all the support that you are tangentially giving to other people too. So,
but with that, I think we're going to briefly talk about some Star Wars news.
Star Wars drama alert! Drama alert!
Drama alert! Drama. Okay, so this was something that happened on, let me check back. It was Tuesday, the 16th of July. Now, we'll kind of go into our personal feelings about this too, but Tenacious D was performing a concert in Australia. And if you don't know who Tenacious D is, it's Jack Black's like band. And so it was one of his band members' birthdays, and they brought a cake up, and they're like, oh man, like blow out the candle and say a wish. And he said basically to the extent of that he wished that all with the recent events that happened with President Trump, that he would be killed. And so it wasn't really cool. Didn't look good for them online either. Then Jack Black went to the internet to publicly state that like, hey, what was said at the concert wasn't appropriate, and we're sorry that happened. We're canceling the rest of the tour. So you won't see us around like at all for a while, kind of a thing. And professional on his part, I'll give him that. And I think it was good. But then Gina Carano is now digging up that argument to kind of reinsert hers originally to be like, so are these people not going to be held accountable for stuff, but I'm going to be more as just a scapegoat? But I feel like Tommy and I kind of personally agree that this is a bit of a different situation because Jack Black did nothing wrong and he took an appropriate measure to fix that. But we will both steadily agree that what happened to Gina Carano was very, very unfortunate. And we don't really think it should have happened in the way it did. But yeah, that's where we stand on that issue.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Jackson. And I don't really have much else to add other than I agree with Jackson that the Gina Carano thing, it's not the same situation. If Jack Black would have made the statement, then I could think it would be the same thing.
Yes.
But because he didn't make the statement himself, he's just tangentially involved in it. And I think honestly, like he was very professional about how he went about it. And like the ramifications of that and the consequences of it. But for Gina Carano's situation, I understand her frustration with her situation. But she was also a much more central part to a Star Wars story than Jack Black was. Jack Black was a cameo for one Mandalorian episode. We probably won't see him ever again. Whereas Gina Carano was one of the faces. Actually, dude, right here. So you and Jacob got me this poster here like 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Dude, all the Mando season 1 marketing has Gina Carano on it. It's Mando, IG-11, and Gina Carano's character Cara Dune. That's all the marketing for Mando season 1. So as one of the faces of the show, you do have to think about what you say. I am, I'm a huge proponent of freedom of speech. But I do also believe in things like civility and circumstance. So I do think that there are certain environments where you can make certain statements that you can't make in others. Like if I'm in a room with 3 friends and I yell like, "Oh, there's a fire," as I run into the room, that's a funny joke and the 4 of us have a laugh. If I run into a movie theater and I say, there's a fire, that is actually a crime. So there's difference, it's freedom of speech all day until you have to think about how the things that you're saying are appropriate or not for your audience, which is something that we try and keep it track of. We like to let everyone have their opinions and have some back and forth, but there also comes a point where we're not having a back and forth anymore and it just becomes stupid, pointless arguing. So
yeah, and I'll agree. And I feel like we can even just let it rest at that too. But
yeah, and that's it. That's all we have to say. You heard our thoughts, and we're not going to tell you anymore.
No. And now we're going to get into whatever happened in the Acolyte.
Yeah, whatever. So we waited for the show to be done.
Yeah. Oh, I was even going to say, this is kind of a moment too where I really wish Jacob could have made the episode, only because we were all texting before, like don't really know how to feel about it. But Jacob was like, that was great. I loved it. And I was like, well, really wish I could have heard his thoughts. So that's unfortunate. Obviously, Jacob has a social media and a Discord. You can text him and find out his thoughts on that too. But I'm kind of like, with the ending, Tom. What about you?
I don't dislike it as much as I disliked Tales of the Empire. I felt like the end of that was very just like, I definitively was like, yeah, I didn't really like that. But with this, it's such a mixed bag of a show. Like there's so much, like there's moments that I like and there's scenes that I like in the show, like that are like, oh, that's amazing Star Wars. And then there's just, to be honest, for me, it's everything having to do with Osha and May. Their characters just did not grab me the way that other Star Wars characters have in the past.
Yeah, and I'll agree with that as well, just because it felt like very much the episode was like a whole circle. Like things happened, but nothing was accomplished. And I was trying to really think to myself too, like what made me upset with it? And I feel like what kind of made me initially more upset too was that when the show was advertised by Leslie Headland, it was projected as this could be a standalone Star Wars series. And if there's never a season 2 made, then it will be A-OK. Everything is wrapped up perfectly in a bow. And we have said that consistently episode to episode. And the whole ending of the damn show was promoting a season 2 that we don't even know could even happen at this point. So that's why I was initially very frustrated with it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, dude. It's I felt like throughout the whole show, we were like very shallowly going into a ton of different issues and then and like concepts. And then as the show went on, they added more and more to the point where last week you said it yourself. You're like, I don't know how they're going to conclude all of this in one final episode. And then not only did they not, then they left everything open-ended. So at this point, I would say there's certainly going to be a season 2, regardless of how people felt about season 1. Yeah. And I wish Leslie Headland, I wouldn't have seen her say, yeah, this could be a standalone by itself, because I would say I disagree with that, and she's the show creator. So like, maybe I just don't get what her vision was because it's an artist making art at the end of the day. But yeah, man, I just was like, okay, so I want a season 2 because I'm so lost on everything that just happened right now.
I agree. I want there to be a season 2. And my worry with that is that the show didn't perform in quotations to Disney standard, but they were releasing reports and saying that it qualified as a well-performing show because it had surpassed, wasn't it almost as many views as Kenobi?
Yeah, Kenobi was the only one that beat it out.
Yeah, and it was just like, oh, well, I guess if it checks those boxes, they could make the season. And I mean, if they make the season 2, then I'll be happy and I'll want to see what it says. But I'm just confused. And I feel like a lot of people online are too, because I tried looking at what our community was saying, what the garrison here was saying, what people online are. Even my dang pastor wanted to talk about it. So... But everyone's kind of like,
Yeah, man. For me, I'm so mixed up on this one. I'm very apathetic towards the ending. I don't necessarily be like I hated that, but I'm also definitely not like I loved that.
No, yeah.
For me, the big thing is like I think again the biggest thing for me is the relationship between Osha and May. I liked the reveal that they are the same person, and like we've been saying, Acolyte oracles since day one, that they are yin and yang. They are perpetually opposite of one another, and they can never want the same thing. And that's just it showed through the whole show. I'm glad we finally got that. About halfway through the final episode, that they're the same person. They're not sisters, even though they thought they were. They don't even know who taught them the rhyme that they've made such a big deal about the whole entire season.
Yes.
So but again, it showed a lot. Now going back, where like there were times where I was like, I felt like May just changed her motivations on a dime. It confirmed our theory of the yin and yang. Okay, they're changing their minds so abruptly because the other one also changed their mind.
Yeah, and for people who even want to critique even just that little bit of it too, be like, oh, and she changed her mind on such a dime. Anakin did the same thing. Come on, man. This isn't a new concept. But
yeah.
I even compiled a whole list of just questions here. I think I have I have like 8 or 9 different questions that like I wrote down from the episode that they did not answer. I can just briefly go through it too. I had what was wrong with Kamir's eyes? What happened with Osha and the helmet? Pelagus, Yoda. Why did Basil chew the cords on the ship? Did Osha even choke Soul or kill him to begin with? May and Osha aren't even twins. Is it or is it not? And then turning to the dark side like Anakin. And then I just put, now what?
Yeah, honestly, if you want to go through those one by one, because I do think I have theories on some of those, and I have thoughts on some of those. But yeah, if I were to just wrap up my thoughts on the Osha May thing, I think specifically with killing Soul, the most in your face yin yang thing was, which by the way, R.I.P. my brother Soul.
Yeah, R.I.P. He was the coolest character in the entire show. Fight scenes with him were dope. But
yeah. So it's where May reconciles that she does not want Soul dead, and she makes the selfless decision to keep him alive. That is in that exact moment when Osha now takes on May's role as the dark side personality, where she decides to kill Soul because May won't do it. And that's what May's been wanting this entire series, has been to kill these Jedi that took part in killing her mother. And now finally you have all the Jedi dead, so the Sith did win. But yeah, and then there's also, now we threw Darth Plagueis into it at the very end, and you didn't even explain who he was. So many people that don't like, because that was the other thing. I remember, if you can go back a few weeks on our show, you and me were like, yeah, this is being advertised as an entry-level Star Wars show. I think a lot of people will enjoy this entry-level Star Wars show. And then you bring in Darth Plagueis and nothing.
Yep. And that was the worst part. Just like creeps around the corner. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is going to be a game changer for the episode. Credits roll. I went, okay, what? I was legitimately shocked that we didn't see him again. No, I thought that was poorly done. I will say it like that too.
But then I think of The Mandalorian, and remember in season 1 where there's the Fennec Shand gets killed, and then you see the boots walking up to Fennec Shand, and we're all like, is it Moff Gideon? It's the spur sound of Boba Fett. And we didn't get an answer on that till season 2. But I think the difference is we knew there was going to be a season 2 of The Mandalorian. We don't know still if there's going to be a season 2 of The Acolyte. And I think that is the big blaring difference between those two scenarios. Is when I watched Mando, I was like, okay, we'll eventually get an answer on this because I know there's more content coming. But yeah.
No, I'm right there with you. It was cool to now, after all of these years, finally see Pelagus put into the visual canon, confirming it as like, this is what he looked like, kind of a thing. But now it's just, again, we saw him and he's gone, and it's now what?
He's also much older than he was in the Darth Plagueis book. If we went by the Darth Plagueis book, we have another Ki-Adi-Mundi situation on our hands. We have another Ki-Adi-Mundi. If you look at the Plagueis book and you went by his age in that, Plagueis would be like 15 years old max in this show. So obviously they have made him much older than he originally was. I'm okay with that. It's a Legends
and
book.
The book is Legends, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm okay with that, them changing that. Now, if they were like, if Plagueis was canon, I mean, him as in name, he's canon from Revenge of the Sith.
Yes.
But if they made the whole book canon, then they turned around and they like changed that, I'd be like, that's a bad look. But they didn't.
I agree. But yeah, even because I was just looking at the list of things that, well, I guess to keep it on the same track while they were on that planet that they were, the whole situation with the helmet of just like, Osha puts it on and it's just like, oh my gosh, like something's wrong with it. And we get this scene of like Kamir like reaching out to her and like his eyes turn black. And then like it very much reminded me when it's shifting between like the color setting he's in to like the blue color setting, like a Kylo and Rey kind of a thing when they're like connecting in the Force. That's how it felt watching it. But I was confused because again, it wasn't explained at the end, or we have no idea what that is.
So the way that I interpreted it was Osha's tapping into her dark side for the first time in the same way that May is tapping into her light side for the first time. And so they're kind of switching roles. And obviously Osha has the abilities that Mother Anastasia has. So I think she actually, through her dark side feelings, possesses Chimere the same way Mother Anastasia possessed Torben, because Chimere's kind of in that same like stone realm when he's like his eyes are all black, but he's able to fight it with the dark side of the Force to take off the helmet. And then when he takes it off, we see Osha has Sith eyes for a moment there. So I was pretty I was really impressed with a lot of the Chimere Osha scenes these last few episodes. I wish we would have gotten more of that, because that was like the show's called The Acolyte. I would have loved to have seen more about that dynamic.
Yeah, I agree. That's another concept I felt like fell flat at the ending of just not promising to show more of that Acolyte of what the show is named after. Part of the thing.
I gotta say, I liked the fighting. The fighting, I will say it again, amazingly done.
Yeah, fighting was absolutely solid. The Soul versus Chimere fight in this, pretty cool. I didn't realize, and maybe just because I didn't see it during episode 5, how Chimere's lightsaber breaks apart almost like a Shoto, where it's like really short on the one end, longer on the other. Whereas in Jedi Survivor, if you do that with your saber, they're both full length instead. Or even Ahsoka's is like kind of the same thing, but still very, very cool saber design. I loved it. I was here for it. But yeah, the action was cool.
That was how Chimere killed Jeki, was by breaking it up and stabbing her with the Shoto saber.
Yeah, I didn't know at the moment that it was like a shorter. I thought it was the same length as the other one.
Oh, okay, I got you.
That's what I thought. Yeah,
that whole fight was awesome. The wire work was great. Just showing like when Soul gets up and like triple kicks him, I was like, that was sick.
Yeah, that was neat.
It was a great fight. Soul being a true Jedi to the end, just wouldn't kill him. He just disarmed him. I'm bringing you in.
Yeah, or even the scene then when Osha picks up Soul's lightsaber, and we see for the first time now in a visual show appearance her cracking the saber and making it red. Because in Jedi Survivor we could see that happening, but that was a video game, and now it's on screen. So it's like, okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, bleeding the crystal was really, really neat. But that, speaking of Osha, her and May had this exchange in like their old bedroom, and they're like fighting each other, but they can't like get the upper hand on each other. And I'm like, okay, another yin yang moment here. And I was almost there. Like I was like, okay, like I'm about to finally care about these two characters and their dynamic. And then they look up and they see the ship with all the Jedi, and then Osha looks down and May's gone. And I'm like, damn. Like every time I get blue balled with these actually caring about the character moments.
Yeah. Oh, and here's another. They didn't follow up on this concept, and it wasn't revealed. The stranger that we had talked about in the previous episode, who might be in the background of the flashback scenes with the witches, because then this time, because Osha's all like, "Oh, it's the only way to get in the compound," and Chimere's like, "Is it?" And then disappears, and it's like, okay, we're not going to follow up on the fact that you knew how to get in there at some point, even though you've never visited Brendock.
Mhm.
So I thought that was, again, just another missed opportunity.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. And again, I'm not the writing team. I didn't make the creative choices on any of this. So I'm just talking as a consumer, my enjoyment level of the product. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm so lukewarm on this series because again, it's such a mixed bag because then in the same episode as all these Osha May scenes that I just didn't care about, you have an awesome exchange between Vernestra and the one senator where the senator is like very anti-Jedi. I'm like, I want to see more of this. This is a really cool concept.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I want to see the anti-Jedi sentiment. Now, people in the galaxy are kind of sick and are starting to grow more sick and tired of the Jedi just doing what they want and not reporting it to the chancellor or the council or anything like that. And I liked the scene where all the different senators are there and Venestra just throws Soul under the bus and is like, "Oh yeah, by the way, screw that guy. He just decided to off himself on this planet." And it was like, oh my gosh. So that it's only growing into be a bigger problem. But at the same time as the problem is going, we're on a timeline here. And there's 100 years before Phantom Menace happens. So now you have multiple dark side users running around. So how is this going to fit in by the time we get to the Phantom Menace? That was probably my biggest upset of this too, is because of the questions unanswered. It does not make sense if a season 2 is never made. You can show this to someone and say, "Oh yeah," and then after this, you watch the Phantom Menace. They'll watch the Phantom Menace and go, "Why the hell did I watch that Acolyte show?"
Yep. And that's unfortunate too, because it's like a Solo treatment all over again. I want them to continue the story of the Solo movie because they started something there. And then if you're watching through Star Wars, you watch Solo, you're like, what? Darth Maul's back? And if you only watch the movies, you never see him again. And it just sucks. It just sucks.
It is. It's very unfortunate. I also really, one of my very highlighted hate moments of this episode was the throwing Yoda at the end like a Marvel character reveal. I thought was trash, to say the least. I thought that was so distasteful to be like, "Oh my gosh, Yoda's gonna be the Acolyte." No crap, he's totally not alive during this period of time. How the Star Wars team was expecting people to react when they saw Yoda.
Well, the people on Twitter did. They were losing their minds over Yoda. I'm like, come on, man. I mean, and I will say though, in defense of the show, we don't know for sure because we don't know what happens next. But a lot of people were saying, "So what? Vernestra just tells Yoda the truth?" And I go, "Hell no. She only really cares about Chimere right now. You know, that's all she cares about. She's gonna tell Yoda about Chimere and like ask him for help on how to find him." Which that was another thing, bro. When Osha and Chimere are standing at the end and they start holding hands, I was like, not another Raylo moment.
I said, not this. Of all the things that could happen, I was like, but why? I mean, you could see it coming from the previous episode. So I'm not going to say it wasn't a complete curveball, but it was still like, but why add this? I don't feel like it needs to be added.
Yeah, now what kind of made me pivot how I look at the show was I saw people online, namely on X, were like, this show watches how like a young adult like novel reads. Like you have your little romance, you have your mystery, you have, you know, your bad guy and everything. And I'm like, yeah, this reads like a book that I would not read. Like that's how this maybe that's why my enjoyment of it is much more limited, because most other Star Wars projects, I'd be like, yeah, if this was a book, I would read it. Absolutely. And with this show, I'm like, if this was a book, I don't know that I would, just like the other High Republic books, I don't know that I would get into this.
Yeah, and that I feel like that kind of thought is only going to keep spinning until we get Skeleton Crew, because again, it's going to be advertised as a kid show, and a lot of people aren't going to like it for those reasons. Skeleton Crew Oracle making my first prediction. People will not like the show because there's kids in it, and it looks like it's going to be a kidsy show. Ooh.
Yeah, I'm at the point with the show. Again, I'm anticipating a second season. I will watch, and I want to see a second season because they left so many loose threads on the end of this. I want a resolution to a lot of these story points. And you have a lot here. There's a lot that's compelling. I like that Osha switched with May and became the dark side embodiment. I like this lingering thing between Vernestra and Chimere. I like the threads that the thread of the Plagueis thing. You have a lot set up here that you can do with this show, but I don't know that they will do it,
Yeah, especially after getting to where we are at the end of season 1. If there was a season 2, I could not see them tying anything up at all. I could only see them creating more questions to things. Another question I written down was, why is Basil chewing the cords in the ship? It's just shown for a second, and then the ship lands, and that's it. And then Basil just leaves the ship.
I have a theory on that.
Okay, what's your theory?
Because I think what Soul was gonna do was destroy the ship. Like, he's got the targeting computer up and everything. And then Basil's like, no, we can't do that. We're all going to die in this little ice field. So he chews up the ship so that Soul can't selfishly try to destroy May,
I guess, but that wasn't even a mention thing for her to be even just a line, be like, you were going to try to shoot me down, or I don't know, Basil and Beaver speak and be like, kind of a thing. But
yeah, man, I don't know. I think if I were to rate the show right now, for me, it's like a 6 to a 6.5. It's not there's parts of the show that I will watch. I will turn on the 5th episode of this show and watch that again with all those awesome fight scenes. That was great.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I feel like at the moment, with how I feel, if I had to rate, if we were doing another tier list of Star Wars content, Acolyte would be at the bottom, and right above it would be Resistance. And I would yeah, it's a hard watch, and you know it. But
dude, Resistance is the hardest watch.
Yes, but I only put it there just because although Resistance might be a difficult watch, it's for kids. This was supposed to be an anybody watch this intro show, and I just feel like it did not live up to that reputation. I feel like the sequels did a lot better than the Acolyte did. I feel like there's nothing comparatively. This would be the sequel trilogy, and this would be the Acolyte, because at least the sequel trilogy in the end wraps up conclusions and makes sense. This did not.
Can we also talk about the scene at the tree, which is totally the Vergence and the Force is the tree, where Chimere just wipes May's memory, and and then they dip, which again, we're showing the yin and yang, because now Osha makes the selfish decision of wanting to train with Chimere, and then May in turn makes the selfless decision of sacrificing her own memory so that Osha can do that.
They did swap places in the end. My pastor was not a fan of the memory wipe scene. He's like, it just why? But it was a cheap move. But I mean, the switch was definitely the biggest shock of the episode. I was not expecting it to turn out that way. I could tell at least that Osha was interested in what this dark side thing was, and how she seems to using the Force more like that. But still, it was, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really get it. And again, I guess that's just the nature of the beast when it comes to this show. I'm not a hater by any means. And if you like it,
No.
good for you. I wish I liked it
Yes.
as much as some people enjoy this show.
Oh, absolutely.
But ultimately, I'm like, I don't know, man. I felt underwhelmed and I feel like very lukewarm on this show. Like, it's just like I keep saying, it's like a mixed bag. We have so much stuff that's good, and then there's so much stuff that I just don't care for. It's like so strange.
Yeah, I saw at least one or two different people on TikTok that were like, "Oh my gosh, guys, the Acolyte ending was so cool, and check out all this stuff." And I was like, you know what? Great for you that you really enjoyed it. I wish I enjoyed it as much as you did, but we have been. It just feels so wrong at this point to shit on the Acolyte after we defended it so strongly and for so long when it came out. And now we're at the point where I just feel defeated talking about it. And I'm just like you can think about it what you want. Like at the end of the day, I did not enjoy the ending. And I don't think it was a terrible Star Wars show. It should be thrown away by any means. I liked some things and I didn't like other things.
I think we've settled into like there's now a third camp when it comes to the Star Wars fandom. You have your George Lucas elitists who are like incels and neckbeards who hate anything and everything that Disney puts out. You have the Disney shills that just love everything and they just want to say, I love it, I love it, I love it about everything that comes out. You have the rest of us in the middle. And I think we fall into this camp. Like, I like some things, I don't really like others, but I'm also a sane person and I don't obsess over, I don't try to war with other factions about like what I like and don't like about Star Wars.
Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. I was getting a call on my watch in the middle of that and it completely cut my audio. So you were going. So I was like, oh no, am I going to be lost from the show and I have to reconnect now? But
no,
okay, no, we're fine. No, you're good. You're good. But yeah, no, I would agree. And sure, people will joke. Our fan base will jokingly call us shills while other people will mean it when they say that. But we're here to enjoy Disney Star Wars content. And if it's, we'll fairly critique the material. And I feel like the critiques that we're giving are fair compared to everything else. We're not super nitpicky thing. We're not saying the character selection is woke and this, that, and the other thing. But it's like the things that I didn't like not to enjoy the ending of the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, it's just I really can't say anything else like with my general feelings on the show because it's just I'm lukewarm. It just is what it is, man. It's a show that came out. It's not my favorite, but not every Star Wars project that comes out is going to be an absolute banger masterpiece, And again,
Absolutely
it's like I think this show is a lot like trail mix, dude. There's like there's stuff that's really good in the trail mix that I want more of, and then you got the raisins, bro. That's where,
I'm here for the raisins and the M&Ms. I'm not here for some of the other accoutrements in there.
Yeah, like the seeds in there. I'm like, come on, dude.
No, get that out of there.
But yeah, man, that's kind of my thoughts on the Acolyte. I want a second season because I want answers on what we've gotten into. But I also think my personal opinion, I think Leslie Headland was trying to tell too many stories at the same time under one show.
Yeah,
I think she was trying to insert a sisterly relationship story into a murder mystery. That's like, and when you're bringing Plagueis into the mix, that is a very important story to the timeline of Star Wars. And I feel like that is why I kind of got lost when it came to the Osha May dynamic, because I felt like it was just shoehorned in. Like I didn't care about it because I was focused on other things. And I think that you had two storylines that were competing with each other that ended up hurting each other rather than like pushing each other to both be more compelling as the show went on.
Yeah. Because I didn't feel relatable to any of the characters. I didn't really care about even, like you said, the main characters of the show. I cared more about the side characters that got wiped out. And after that, I was like, But yeah.
Yeah. And then, and then on top of that too. So I did like a short video just giving like initial thoughts on the Acolyte. And I was like, and go check out our podcast like on Friday. And I had to like ban people from the comments because they were commenting being like, you're just a sellout. Disney paid you to make this review. And they were like quoting things I said throughout the video being like, and this, you're such a sellout. You need to demand better. And I'm thinking,
that's so funny.
Being generally negative about a show is selling out now. That's wild.
Clearly Disney would not pay us to talk bad about it. Maybe none of the shills that have ever watched our videos are going to make it this far into the video. But if you are a shill and you're this far, thank you, because you're giving us views and your comments only boost our ratings. So thank you. But
if you like the show, please tell us in the comments why you like the show. I want to enjoy the show, and I'm not set in stone forever on my opinion on this show. If you can help me to enjoy this show more, I mean, I'm someone who came from absolutely despising and hating the sequel trilogy to now The Last Jedi is one of my favorite Star Wars movies. So people can change over time and opinions can change. So if you have some good thoughts to drop in the comments, make sure to let us know. We'll love to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have discourse. And if you want to talk more, we have a Discord that you can join. We have a lot of fun people that talk on it every single day. So shameless plug of the Discord. Rest of our socials obviously being Instagram and X. We never really use X for obvious reasons. If our show wouldn't freeze. We also have a Patreon and memberships for the memberships for the YouTube is what I was thinking about.
But yeah, guys, so that's our, I mean, do you have anything else you wanted to add on this?
I have no more to add for the Acolyte.
Crying and whining big baby fest on the Acolyte.
Yeah, if you whined and cried like a big baby on the internet, then you just need to get a life, dude. Get a damn hobby.
Yeah, dude. But yeah, so that's all we got, guys. Thanks for watching another episode of the 1313 podcast. We'll catch you for the next one. We will be scrambling to come up with some new topics to talk about on the show. So if you have any suggestions, topics that you would like to hear us talk about on the podcast, drop them in the comments or drop them in our Discord. With that, guys, we'll see you next time on the podcast. Toodaloo.
Bye.
Hey, this is Vanessa Marshall. I play Hera Syndulla on Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to the 1313 podcast.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Hum da da hum dum dum da. Hum da da dum dum da dum da ba do ba do ba do ba do ba dum ba ba dum ba dum ba do ba dum ba do ba dum da.